What's going on, everybody? This is Billy Truelove with Podcast 1558. Tonight we are going to be breaking down the Week 7 matchup we've got coming. The Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Got a very special guest with us here tonight. We've got Tyler Rowland. If you've seen him, he's on the Locked On Titans podcast. You can follow him at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter as well. I know I'm following you, and I'm certainly going to keep an eye on it this weekend. Tyler, thank you for sitting down with me tonight.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Definitely excited for this matchup coming. Week 7 here between the Titans and the Chiefs. As you mentioned, you can find me on Twitter at Tic Tac Titans. I do a ton of film analysis and film breakdowns. Spend a lot of time on Wednesdays dropping that film analysis and those clips. So if you guys want to go kind of check out what you're up against with the Titans and who's playing well, my Twitter account's a great way to kind of get behind enemy lines and see what may be coming ahead. So, yeah, the Locked On Titans podcast as well. I know it's a Titans podcast, but my breakdowns, my game previews on Fridays tend to go into pretty good depth as to what I expect the Titans to do. We're going to do a little bit of that here as well, so feel free to check out the Locked On Titans podcast or just check me out on Twitter at Tic Tac Titans. But excited to talk some football with you and excited for this matchup.
Hell yes, and you guys are just riding high right now. Obviously, a lot of people have the Jets game in their head, which was obviously just your classic trap game. No Julio Jones, no A.J. Brown, and probably still just a ton of confidence that it didn't really matter who they rolled out there, that they were going to beat them, and that's just how the NFL goes. The Chiefs, on the other hand, coming off of a win, but locally, we're not feeling too good about this team right now. Obviously, we don't make the schedule. You win whoever gets put in front of you, but the Washington football team, not the caliber of opponent that the Tennessee Titans just beat in a thriller on Monday night. That was awesome. You saw Derrick Henry on full display. The Chiefs are very familiar, very much aware of that type of threat that you got. And if you, for any Titans fans that haven't seen much of the Chiefs this year, just a lot of question marks. This isn't the AFC Championship team that the Titans have seen. Not right now. Got a entirely new built offensive line, so the offense is really sputtering, which we really expected. That line's going to take time. The defense, coming into the season, this front office was very, very excited that this defense was going to really take a big step forward, and it has just not gotten out of the gates yet. If the injury report coming out today, we've got 11 starters on that injury report. We still have the odds in our favor on the road. I'm really shocked that Vegas has the odds. That's really just where the public is putting their money right now. Right. But Tyler, so you guys have seen, obviously opponents from just both sides of the spectrum right now, locally coming off such a big win. What is that Titan fan base feeling like right now?
Well, I think you mentioned the game against the Jets. I think that was kind of a sobering moment for Titans fans, a team coming into the season. You thought the Titans might have Super Bowl aspirations, at least when a trade for Julio Jones goes down. You think that the Titans in the building think that they're ready to make that kind of push after a very successful stretch of seasons, including some playoff appearances and some playoff runs. So you expected a possible Super Bowl contending team. When you get blown out by the Cardinals in week 1, which, looking back with hindsight now, the Cardinals are a damn good football team. So yeah, that doesn't look quite as bad as maybe it did after week 1. But that Jets game, it really doesn't matter what goes on with the Jets the rest of the year. That'll look about as bad as it did when it happened. But when you win a game against somebody like the Bills, you were expected to win. Nobody expected the Titans to lose to the Jets, but pretty much nobody expected the Titans to beat the Bills. I didn't expect the Titans to beat the Bills when I saw the schedule come out earlier in the year. I didn't expect the Titans to beat the Bills going into the game, and I was shocked that the Titans beat the Bills even when it happened in shocking fashion. So it kind of washes away the sins of the Jets game, and I think the Titans fan base and probably the people in the building as well, including the players and the coaches, they probably think, oh, okay, if we can beat a team like the Bills, then we can be that team that everybody expected us to be coming into the season. So even though the Titans are swarmed with injuries right now as well, there's data coming out through 6 weeks. The Titans, outside of the Baltimore Ravens, have been the most injured team in the NFL. So when you keep that in the back of your mind, all things considered, I think the Titans team and the fan base is pretty happy with sitting at 4-2 right now.
Absolutely. You're right. I mean, the way the season has started, things are finally starting to kind of settle in, I think, with the direction we're going to see with these teams. And you're right, the Titans are right where they should be. We know they're a good team. The Julio Jones acquisition in the offseason, probably one of the biggest acquisitions of any team this offseason, and he's still just kind of finding his way with that team. I really think if you guys unlock the code to Julio Jones with Ryan Tannehill, it just is too much to deal with. But you still got to, that's quarterback-wide receiver relationship, if they get there, that could be crazy. I'm a huge A.J. Brown fan. I think he is a nightmare matchup.
Yep.
For a lot of teams. The Chiefs right now, hoping to get Charvarius Ward back. He's our number one corner. We're hoping to get Chris Jones back. We're going to need Chris Jones. Derrick Henry is on a tear right now, and our defensive line already has tons of struggles. Our linebacking group, very, very young group of dudes, Nick Bolton and Willie Gay, probably going to be out there 100% of the time as Anthony Hitchens, our play caller, did not participate, got knocked out of the last game. We'll see. He's got an injury he's dealing with, so they're going to have their hands full. You got to get to Derek fast. You can't let him get that momentum moving forward before he hits you. You're not going to win. And this is a big problem for this defense. I think for anyone watching, you'll see Chris Jones recently, big-time contract from the Kansas City Chiefs, highly regarded as one of the better defensive tackles in football, next to Aaron Donald. And this season, we've moved him outside to play defensive end because of our struggles outside. And it appears that if he's ready to go this week, they're going to make the move back inside, hopefully, on a full-term basis and not this hybrid. I guess I don't mind if you push him outside in certain scenarios, but if Derrick Henry's on the field and it's 3rd and 20, move him inside. I don't care if you think they have to pass. Derrick Henry can get it done at any point, especially against a vulnerable defense like the Chiefs right now. So, Tyler, I'll flip to the other side of the ball for you guys. The injuries right now, are you feeling it the most on your defense?
Yeah, absolutely, especially at cornerback. Right now, the Titans on Monday night were already without their number one cornerback, second-year player Christian Fulton out of LSU, who's been fantastic early this year. He completely eliminated DK Metcalf when they played against Seattle. So he's played very well early on this season. He's out with a hamstring injury. He's on IR, so he's not going to be available in this game whatsoever. The Titans' first-round pick, their rookie cornerback Caleb Farley, he tore his ACL against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night, so he's obviously out for the season. And then their next cornerback in line, Chris Jackson, who is a second-year player, he actually is a primary slot option for the Titans, but because of the injuries, they had to put him in an outside cornerback and be their second starting cornerback. He left the game on Monday night with injury. The Titans recently just signed Greg Maben off the Cardinals practice squad, I do believe, this week. They're probably going to elevate some practice squad guys. And when you go up against a team that has Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Josh Gordon getting integrated now, and obviously Patrick Mahomes pulling the trigger, it's very concerning from the Titans' perspective that one of the biggest strengths for the Chiefs is going to be going up against what will be one of the biggest weaknesses for the Titans. But on the flip side of that, like you mentioned, a very young offensive line here as the Chiefs have tried to kind of retool things up front. Well, the number one aspect of the Titans defense so far has been their defensive line. So while there's a strength-on-strength matchup for the Chiefs with the wide receivers against the defensive backs, definitely a strength-on-weakness matchup for the Titans with their defensive front going up against the Chiefs' offensive line. So on that side of the ball, I think the Titans' defense isn't good enough to really prevent the Chiefs from scoring a lot of points. The Bills scored 31. I think the Titans got to try to have that formula again. Know that the Chiefs are going to go up and down the field, try to get a turnover, try to stop them for field goals a couple times in the red zone, and let the Titans' offense be who it is and score some points. But there are areas of opportunity there for the Titans' defense to wreak some havoc on the Chiefs at points in time during the game, because up front, Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, Danico Autry, Tyir Tart, they've been playing pretty good football early in the year, even if the Titans' defensive statistics don't look great. The Titans' defensive front has been very good, and Harold Landry has literally been one of the top 3 edge rushers in the NFL so far this season with 6.5 sacks on the year.
And that is really where I was going to go next here. So if anyone has watched any Kansas City football right now and going back to the Super Bowl, the reason we went to go get this new offensive line is, for one, we've got to be able to establish a run game, because what teams are doing now, if they have the ability to do it, it's just send 3 or 4 pass rushers and drop everyone else. And it has really, it's really just kind of stuck Patrick Mahomes in a weird spot. He's obviously always trying to make the big play, and he is just seeing an absolutely covered field. And gone are the days right now where you look at a roster like the Chiefs and say, oh, they have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. They're loaded. Not so much. This is not in what has obviously has become evolved into more and more of a passing game. You're seeing teams, look at the Titans. We're talking Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry. And Tampa Bay with Chris Godwin and, Antonio Brown and Mike Evans and Gronk. Right. It's not just, if you're going to drop 7 defenders and the real skill level from Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce to the next best receiving threat is DeMarcus Robinson or McCole Hardman, it's easy to really shut down those guys in some zone schemes, or you could put 2 guys, you can just man up on them and let the rest of that zone just shut out Tyreek and Travis, and it's really over. Teams are daring us to run the ball. Do you think you can get, as you just said, it sounds like you are confident, you think you can get pressure just sending the minimum pressure to Patrick?
Yeah, well, I think that's got to be the plan for the Titans, and they can do it in different ways. So, number one, it's not just about rushing your front 4 guys and lining up as a defensive line and rushing them. I think the Titans can bring 4, but do it in different ways. So, what they were doing against the Buffalo Bills, they were bringing a slot blitz. But if you're going to bring a slot blitz, rather than that being your 5th blitzer, or your 5th pass rusher, you drop back a defensive end into coverage on the opposite side of that blitz. Likewise, the Titans were kind of flipping in, blitzing one of their linebackers, David Long. David Long Jr., he's a 6th-round pick out of West Virginia from a couple years ago. He's been the starting inside linebacker for the Titans this year, their best linebacker as well. And when they aren't bringing Elijah Molden or Chris Jackson on a slot blitz, they'll flip that around and bring one of the inside linebackers and then drop the defensive end from the other side. So the Titans are bringing 4 because you can't commit too much more than that. You need to keep those 7 back into coverage like you're talking about. But the Titans will bring 4 guys. They'll just bring them from different places. They'll bring them at different times, and they'll find a way to try to confuse the offensive line of their opponent by bringing those blitzes from different places, but ultimately just sending 4 guys. And when you bring blitzes from different places and you're constantly switching up your pressure schemes, well, you can confuse offensive lines and get pressure on the quarterback, even though you're only bringing 4. So you kind of get the best of both worlds where you're able to get pressure on the quarterback, but you're also able to keep 7 in coverage. So I would expect the Titans to bring and one thing the Titans really like to do is they're going to bring a slot blitz, or they're going to bring the blitz on Patrick Mahomes' right-hand side. Because what you can't allow with a guy like Josh Allen, who the Titans just faced, with a guy like Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, these playmaking savants in the NFL now, that they don't just drop back and run the play. They're going to run around behind the line of scrimmage, second reaction playmaking, and they're going to find guys down the field and force teams to cover for 5-6 seconds. You can't let guys roll to their right over and over and over again and launch the ball down the field like the Titans did early in the year. So I would expect to see the Titans blitz to Patrick Mahomes' right-hand shoulder and try to force him to his left to make it difficult that when he does get out of the pocket and play make, it's going to be difficult to make all of those throws because you're going to your non-dominant side. So that's what I would expect to see the Titans do on defense, to keep 7, but also let the pass rush still influence the play enough.
Absolutely, and you were absolutely right. When Patrick gets to roll to his right, he is as dangerous as anybody, if not the most dangerous guy you can see in the league right now, rolling specifically to his right. Now, Patrick's definitely not afraid to roll to his left and pull the trigger, but like you said, it's just much harder to do.
Yeah, it's the lesser of 2 evils.
Yeah. Yes, throwing with your right hand, rolling to your left, he can do it, but it's going to be very difficult. So it sounds like that's already kind of the bread and butter of Tennessee, that they're not going to send the sink at anybody. They're going to let those guys up front handle it. And that means, for Chiefs fans listening, as boring as it sounds, without our starting running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which at the end of the day, not a humongous loss for us right now, because that pick is just not panning out the way we thought. Darrell Williams and Jerick McKinnon are going to get the load, and we're going to have to get that run game going. It's the only way. Teams are going to make us be not boring, but just not play Chief football. And we're going to have to get comfortable in games like this. With Derrick Henry on the other side of the field, the only way you can eliminate Derrick Henry, and the Chiefs have done this in the past, is to get out in the lead. You're going to have to stop them early, or you're going to have to find a time in the game where you can stack together stops. If you can stack together stops and your offense can get going, you can remove that run game like you can in just against most opponents. But the Chiefs are going to have to they're going to have to take their gambles when they get in that red zone, and you're still not playing sexy football because it's dink and dunk, it's running the ball. You're going to have to start going forward on 4th down, and maybe even be one of these teams that's more comfortable going for 2. Get your points, because this defense is only going to hold up for so long. And that is something I have made very clear on here to Chiefs fans, that quickly after any loss, it's the defense's fault.
You sound like us. You sound like the Titans. You know what I mean? Hurry, get as many points as possible, because the defense won't hold up.
But to defend this defense, it's if they put together a couple stops, it's on the offense then. And that's exactly what happened against Buffalo. We came out in the second half, got 2 consecutive stops to start that half, and in my opinion, at that point, it's on Patrick.
Yep.
We didn't ask this defense to come out and put together 10 stops, especially against teams like a Josh Allen Bills or a Derrick Henry Titans. It's not happening.
Right.
You're going to give up your yards. You're going to give up your points. It's going to come down to a couple of plays and a couple of possessions. You got to then take advantage. We're not playing great complementary football. That's I mean, that's championship stuff right there. You have to be able to pick up where your defense is leaving off, especially when they're struggling. And we're losing the turnover battle at such a huge clip. We're leading the league in turnovers right now. So, Titan fans, if that doesn't get you drooling a little bit, I don't know what will, other than this is a Chiefs team that I know you want to beat. I know you want to beat us, and just I know you want to smack the shit out of us, and it's very possible that it could happen this week. All the quarterbacks that we have put on a pedestal, but we've kept them below Patrick Mahomes. They've all beat him this year. Justin Herbert's beat him, Josh Allen's beat him, Lamar Jackson. All these guys that have never beat him are doing it. Ryan Tannehill up next. We'll see. It's a frustrated Chiefs team right now, and we'll see. So if things are going, let's just assume that the Chiefs aren't playing all that bad, and it's just a good competitive game. What is the game plan for the Titans? What do they got to do to come out with a win on Sunday?
Well, I think that what you talked about, the turnovers have been a big issue, and I think Mahomes has been trying to do a lot. He's been trying to be Superman, and it's maybe just not going as well as it has because the protection isn't quite as good. But with that in mind, I think for the Titans, you got to stop the run in this game. The Chiefs are actually doing a pretty good job running the football this year, 10th in the NFL, 125 yards. If you give Patrick Mahomes third and manageable over and over and over again, well, the Chiefs are just going to move all the way up and down the field. But if the Titans can stop the run and put Mahomes in third and long situations, second and long situations, I think that you might be able to get a couple of turnovers. You're going to get the pass rush to be able to pin their ears back and go up against that offensive line. So I think for the Titans, it all comes down to stopping the run. And as we saw with the game against the Bills, the Titans can stay in nickel. The Titans can stay in dime. And they can stop the run because Jeffrey Simmons is going to eat your offensive line alive. And Tyler Tart up front, Danico Autry, Bud Dupree, David Long, and Rashaan Evans at linebacker. They can use those 6 guys and consistently stop the run even when they're in nickel and you're coming out in 3 wide receiver packages. People think they can spread out the Titans defense and run, but it's simply not working. The Titans have one of the best run defenses in the NFL right now. I believe that they're 7th or 8th best run defense, only giving up 107 yards per game. So if the Titans can stop the run for the Kansas City Chiefs offense, force Patrick Mahomes to constantly win in third and long, I think that they might be able to force some turnovers and get off the field a little bit. I still think there's going to be a ton of points. The Chiefs are going to go up and down the field, but that's one area of opportunity. And then the Titans got to, like I mentioned earlier, the Titans got to find a way to force the Chiefs to some field goals. You can't let the Chiefs be 100% in the red zone. You got to win that red zone battle like the Titans did against the Bills. You got to hold that team to field goals because they're going to go up and down the field. They're going to get yards. They're going to move the ball. But when they get in the red zone, when things get tight, the Titans got to win that battle. So stop the run and give yourselves some opportunities to create turnovers on Patrick Mahomes. And then when the Chiefs do inevitably move the ball downfield most of their drives, you got to find a way to get a few stops in the red zone and hold to some field goals. And then like you were saying with the Chiefs, from there, if the Titans defense can do that, even if they give up 31, 34 points, you got to think that the Titans offense has to take the reins at that point and get the job done and score points.
You're absolutely right. And, when you look at this schedule, obviously the Chiefs aren't – I get where we're at statistically right now, but it's not a very threatening run game as it is banged up. But I will say outside of the Indianapolis Colts, I don't know that the Tennessee Titans have necessarily seen a strong run game. Obviously, Buffalo can't run the ball. I'm not really scared of Arizona.
Buffalo
outside
was pretty
of
good
Josh.
going into the game. Going into the game, Buffalo was the 5th best run offense in the NFL. Now, a lot of that had to do with game script because they were beating people by so much that they just ran the ball the entire second half in 2 of their 5 games. So that obviously is in there, but I agree with you there.
Yeah, and we'll see. Something else for Titans fans to watch, as I said, very new offensive line. Center, Creed Humphrey, rookie. Right guard, Trey Smith, rookie. Now, Creed Humphrey has graded out so far as one of the best centers in football, and Trey Smith is someone that this town is going nuts about. Yeah. He fell in the draft because of an illness, and we took the gamble late, and it's really paying off. So we know we haven't gotten to, we can't really say, look out, what this offensive line is going to go bully anybody yet, but we are confident it's coming. The other wrinkle, I will say that Tennessee is probably going to be the first team to have to see if they can manage it, is Josh Gordon. We brought him in 2 weeks ago. He's been active for the last 2 games, but he's had very few snaps. And we're really thinking, from what we're hearing locally, that this is going to be the game where they try to make an effort to get him involved. And that's all this offense, in my opinion, really needs. It needs the Sammy Watkins. It needs healthy Sammy Watkins back to move around these zone schemes we're seeing and let Tyreek and Travis do what they do. McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle, not getting it done. They couldn't get it. They wouldn't get it done anywhere else either. I do believe Patrick's gotten the absolute most you can get out of them. I've said it time and time again now. The juice is not worth the squeeze, and they will take it very serious this offseason. Well, Tyler, I don't want to take too much more of your time. We've kind of laid out, like you said, what it's going to take. And for our side, I think in order for the Chiefs to get a win, it's going to have to come down to the turnovers have to stop. We can't have these 3 and 4 turnover games when not taking the ball back at all. That's going to have to come to an end. We've got to play cleaner football, and we're going to have to take anything and everything that the Titans defense is going to allow us to take. I mean, defenses are daring us and begging us to run the football right now until we can prove that it's an issue. We're not going to see defenses adjust. And for our defensive side of the ball, it comes down to a couple of stops. Don't let Derrick Henry run for 150. That's the thing. If he runs for 80, 90, I feel better about that. You have to force Ryan Tannehill to win this game. I'd much rather have to stop Ryan Tannehill than stop Derrick Henry any day of the week. So with that, I mean, I'd say this is going to be a great game. And Titans fans, please understand, because you guys were able to knock off Buffalo, this game is now what the Chiefs are looking for to right the ship. Just like you said with the Bills game. What that did for the rest of your season is huge. And it erased the Jets game is such a long memory now that you just took out the number 1 team in the AFC in most power rankings. I know Baltimore's up there, but whatever. It's Buffalo. If the Chiefs can get this W, it does put everything back on track to get this thing turned around. And so I think you will see a very sharp, motivated Chiefs team, but they're just they can't keep shooting themselves in their own foot. And with that, Tyler, I will go to give me your prediction for Sunday in Nashville.
So I've been back and forth on this, but really started diving into the tape here in the last 24 hours or so, and it's kind of swayed how I originally came in and thinking of my prediction originally. I did think that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be able to win this game. Either way, I thought it was going to be a close game with both teams scoring in the 30s. But I think I've changed my mind here in the last 12 hours as to who's going to win the game. And I'm going to take the Titans to win the game 38-34. Like you were talking about, you got to stop Derrick Henry. And I don't see how the Chiefs do that. They're the 6th worst run defense in the NFL so far this year, giving up 133 yards per game, and they haven't met the best running back in the NFL. So with the role that the Titans are on right now with running the ball and where they're at from that aspect, A.J. Brown back healthy, now, and the Titans can get that play action game going over the middle with the youth at linebacker. That just plays right into the hands of the Titans, who are trying to fool those linebackers with the play action fake. With some of the issues up front, stopping the run, moving Chris Jones around, it's just going to be a great opportunity for the Titans to run the ball, play that clock control, and then do the things on defense that I talked about. So I think this game is going to be really close, but I ultimately am going to pick the Titans to win 38-34.
I'm right there with you in that score range. I don't see this being a blowout for either side. Certainly not confident the Chiefs are blowing anyone out right now, especially because of the defense. But I am with you. I'd say 35-31. I'm going Chiefs. I think you're going to see Steve Spagnuolo is feeling the heat, and it's going to be Blitz City. We're going to send everything at Derrick Henry and say, look, either score now or we're going to try to take everyone out.
Right.
And I think that's really the way that the Chiefs defense has to start playing. They got to start taking risks and say, screw it. If you're going to score, do it. Don't take 10 minutes off the clock. Give the ball back to Patrick, and let's just keep firing away here. So I'm with you there, 35-31. I'm going Kansas City Chiefs. Get this thing turned around and really make a push here. We will definitely see how it works out. It's going to be rocking in Tennessee. We know that. You guys are very hungry right now, but I think the Chiefs have quite the appetite, and hopefully we can get our season turned around here. And I'll throw two more questions at you before I let you get out of here, Tyler. With everything where it stands right now, give me a way too early Super Bowl prediction.
It's kind of funny that you're asking me. I do host the Locked On NFL national show on Thursdays, and I recorded that a little bit ago. And in one of our segments there, where a third of the way through the season, what's the predictions looking like? And for me, my prediction prior to the season feels very firm to what I think now. I do think that the Super Bowl will be the Buffalo Bills versus the Los Angeles Rams, and I think that the Buffalo Bills win. And even though the Titans just got done beating the Bills on Monday Night Football, nothing about that prediction for me has changed. My feelings have not changed. So it's pretty simple for me. I think that the Buffalo Bills find a way. And since I'm, talking on a Chiefs podcast, I figure I'd go into this. Just making it to the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, it's so hard. The odds are so unlikely that a team is able to do that regardless of who the team is. And while I'm a big believer in Patrick Mahomes, I certainly think he's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen. It's still a pretty impossible task. All the turnover, the injuries, you're seeing that happen on the defensive side of the ball. It's just so hard to keep a Super Bowl caliber team together 3 seasons in a row. So I do think that the AFC has a new representative this year. Not 100% certain who it would be. Of course, I hope that it would be the Tennessee Titans, but I think it's most likely that it's the Buffalo Bills. That's my big thing with the Titans winning this game. I think the Bills' defense is significantly better than the Chiefs, and their offenses are very similar. So to me, because of that fact, I'll go with Buffalo still making it to the Super Bowl, playing against the Rams. Just something in the water, even though the Rams have taken a bad beat to the Cardinals and things like that. I just think the Rams find a way to get in there, and it'll be good for the league as well to have that happen. So Rams, Bills, with the Bills winning the Super Bowl, Josh Allen, Super Bowl MVP.
I like it, and it's definitely something you could feel good about putting your money on right now. I'm with you on the Rams. I do like them a hair more than the Cardinals right now, even though the Cardinals are just on blazing hot fire. They can't get any better, and I think the Rams can.
Yes, I agree.
Stafford's going to continue to massage that offense. Cooper Kupp is now, we already knew he was good, and you're seeing the difference between him with Jared Goff versus him with a legit quarterback. Yeah. It is crazy. Robert Woods, who was a fantasy football darling last season, he's just begging for targets. And Matt Stafford is, I'm so happy for that guy.
Right.
Got
I'm
out of that Detroit zoo. Yeah. Well, I'm with you there. Thank you for that prediction. And then last question, give me your favorites. Doesn't have to be the best statistically, but who's your favorite Tennessee Titan or Houston Oiler of all time?
Well, this is kind of a conflicting answer, quite frankly. I mean, I jumped on board with the Titans when they moved to Tennessee. I was about 8 or 9 years old. So I definitely won't be citing any Oilers. I have a pretty controversial take on the Oilers history that we won't get into now. Titans fans hate me when I speak my mind on that one. But I will say that, I started like an Eddie George because I am from Ohio, so that kind of brought me into the fold following a player I loved before. That was kind of my first favorite player, but it slowly transitioned to Kevin Dyson, the wide receiver for the Titans that historically was the guy who was 1 yard short, number 87, Kevin Dyson. He was my true favorite player of those early days. Since then, I really did enjoy Chris Johnson, but there was kind of a tinge of, I know this team isn't going to do anything serious, so I guess it's just fun to watch him be really fast. But I got to tell you, Kevin Byard, number 31 for the Tennessee Titans, the safety. He's been one of the best safeties in the NFL his entire career, had 8 interceptions in 2017 that really put him on the map as an all-pro. He's playing back to his all-pro ways this year. Going into the week, he was the number 1 graded safety on Pro Football Focus. He got an interception last night that was huge. He's got 3 already on the season. He makes tackles. He does everything. He's the only Tennessee Titan currently on the team that I own their jersey. I'm going to say that at this time, Kevin Byard, the safety from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a hometown guy, Kevin Byard's probably my favorite Tennessee Titan of all time, not only because of what he's done on the field, but he is the true face of the team in the community. He does great work with charity work. He's helped kind of refurbish the social care center for children who are going through a rough time in Tennessee, in Nashville. He's just a class act all the way around, a really genuine guy. Kevin Byard is the type of dude that not only do you like rooting for, but you're proud to wear his jersey and root for. So I'm going to say Kevin Byard, probably my favorite Tennessee Titan of all time at this point.
Great answer, yes, and he is a real gamer. He is a gamer. Awesome answer. Well, Tyler, again, thanks for sitting down with us tonight. Again, you guys can find Tyler rocking the Locked on Titans podcast at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter. Follow, subscribe, like, all that stuff. And any Chiefs fans listen, any Titans fans that want to come talk shit with me, it's at 1558. That's on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Just like Tyler, we just like to talk football with anyone. This is not an echo chamber Chiefs channel at all. We really talk about shit as real as it is. So again, thank you for hanging out with us again, Tyler. For Matt Bird and Justin Herrera on Billy Truelove, this is podcast 1558. We will see you next week, and we will get this thing turned around this weekend in Nashville. Let's go, Chiefs.